Now, in the wake of the Brereton report and those shocking allegations of Australian war crimes in Afghanistan, the details that shocked and appalled this nation last week, there was an important essay published in The Australian today. It was heartfelt, intelligent, nuanced and confronting. And it was written by one of the most prominent ex-SAS officers in the country, that is Liberal MP Andrew Hastie. He wrote, in part, "We were sent to Afghanistan in double trust, to defend Australia's values and interests by force, but also to uphold those values in our battlefield conduct. Many good soldiers honoured that trust. A small number of soldiers did not." Andrew Hastie joins me now from Mandurah in Western Australia. Thanks for joining us, Andrew. Good to talk to you. It was a brilliant piece, but tell me about how you feel personally as someone who risked your life in Afghanistan for those double roles you just mentioned, and now you've seen through these revelations and allegations that work defiled and certainly disrespected in the public arena.
Good afternoon, Chris. Good to be with you and your viewers. I speak for many people who served in the Special Air Service Regiment when I say I am grieved by this. It is hard to take as someone who loves the institution, has served in the institution and has been sent to war on behalf of the Australian people as part of that institution. I also believe in regimental honour, and so there is a sense of shame that I feel about this. But as I wrote, Chris, a small number of soldiers broke that trust, but the vast majority upheld that trust. And the Brereton report was only tasked to investigate bad conduct. So there's another side to the story. And it's right that we focus on this alleged criminal conduct, but there is a bigger story. And so my piece today was about telling that bigger story and giving the Australian people a context in which to think about these really important issues.
Yeah, and that's why it was such a great essay from that first-hand experience and obviously how deeply you think about these issues. I'll just have a look at another excerpt from that essay. You said that, so before people cry for a repudiation of all warrior culture, they should first understand that you need in an elite special operations unit. You need people who run to the sound of guns, who are prepared to fight and destroy Australia's enemies, who will die doing so if necessary. Those men exist. They are serving at present. They have done nothing wrong. How do they keep doing that kind of work when they see these sorts of allegations and events exposed?
Yes, that's a really good question, Chris. Of course, we're talking about criminal activity, alleged criminal activity that happened almost a decade ago. And about 80% of the current members of the SAS didn't actually serve in Afghanistan themselves. So there's a whole new cohort of operators who aren't responsible for this conduct. And it would be terrible if we tarnished their name and their reputation with the bad conduct of a few. We absolutely need an elite special operations unit which undertakes some of the toughest, most demanding tasks that government can give them. And in order to have such a unit, you need a warrior culture. You do need people who are prepared to give their life if necessary, who are fiercely competitive, who are driven to be absolute experts in the profession of arms. And that's what you have at the SAS. And so in my essay, I talked about two competing cultures over the last decade.
Yes, you did. And you talked about a culture of just war and delivering peace through war as against an ego-driven warrior culture that you despised. Tell me what you saw on the battlefield that disturbed you.
Well, Chris, my trip was in 2013, and I'm not under investigation. And we did have some incidents on my trip, and they've been well ventilated in the media, and so they've been dealt with as well. But by the time I took over as a troop commander in 2013, the war had been going on for a long time, 12 years in fact, and a lot of SAS operators had been over 3, 4, 5, 6 times. And a point I make in the essay is that over time, war has a degrading impact on people. It makes you hard-hearted. It makes you calloused. And we need warriors who are absolutely striving for victory on the battlefield, but they also have to maintain an element of compassion and the spirit of the peacemaker. I quote St. Augustine there, who's the father of the just war tradition. And that maintaining that balance is very, very difficult. It's even harder when you're sending people back again and again and again. And that was the challenge for me in 2013, was looking after those guys who've seen a lot of combat and making sure that we stayed within the boundaries that was set for us.
Now, the incident you referred to a dead Afghan's hands being chopped off, apparently for identification. And as you say, that was all investigated. But are you saying that there were soldiers under your command who you felt had lost their moral compass in Afghanistan?
I've got to be very careful here, Chris. What I was saying is that there were guys who had lost friends, who'd seen a lot of combat, who had done multiple tours, and who, for understandable reasons, were pretty hard of heart by the time we got around. And I don't hold that against them. But that's why we need to have strong leadership. We need to have strong systems of accountability, and we really need to look after the welfare of our soldiers. If we send Australian soldiers to war as a country, then we need to bring them back. And we also need to care for their wounds, both physical and mental. And that's something that we really need to think long and hard about. So, Chris, there's accountability. There will be a reckoning for those who allegedly have conducted or committed war crimes, but accountability goes up the chain. There's moral and legal responsibility, and I think that's another conversation that we need to have.
Yeah, tell us about that chain and how far up this should go, because your story is a very inspiring one. You joined the Army after 9/11. You decided this was the moment that you needed to defend your country and its values. You end up in Afghanistan. When you see what unfolded there over many, many years and so many thousands of lives lost, do you believe that the Afghanistan war and Australians' role in it was just and properly executed?
We went over there for a just cause, and that was to disrupt Al-Qaeda and their affiliates in Afghanistan, which at the time in 2001 were receiving safe harbour from the Taliban. And then over time, the mission changed and morphed into one of nation building. And so to understand my politics, you've got to understand my experience. I remember watching George Bush's 2005 second inaugural address, and I still was something of a neoliberal or neocon in that I believed that you could export freedom around the world. Well, my view now is that you need unique conditions for freedom and for our system of government to arise. And you can't just go and shoehorn it into another country at the force of arms. So what I saw in Afghanistan was a mission that was initially disruption, morph into nation building. And then, in a sense, we built an Orwellian enterprise as part of the counterinsurgency campaign that we conducted. It's a big, tough conversation, but I hope your viewers have got a sense of the parameters of the conversation just through that last little description.
Do you regret your part in it?
I don't regret my part in it because I believe that wherever you are, you're meant to bring light to a situation, and I was over there and I did the best that I could. Life is imperfect, and this is another point I make, Chris, that the crooked timber of humanity that we make mistakes, people do bad things, and we need to have a realistic view of the world. I'm very scared of utopians who think that there is some sort of utopian world that we can create here on Earth.
Well, Andrew,
it's a long way of saying I don't regret it.
Indeed, and well said. And Andrew, we respect your service and thank you for that essay. It was such an important contribution. Thanks for joining us today.
Thank you very much, Chris.
Andrew Hastie there, the Liberal member for Canning in Western Australia. Just an extraordinary insight there into the challenges and experience in Afghanistan. In part, in his essay, Andrew Hastie says, Australia has fought wars in the past. We will fight them in the future. We must be ready. We cannot afford to lose. As he says, you have to maintain martial, sure, control, but you have to maintain this warrior culture where it's required. Amazing stuff. Read the essay if you get the chance.